Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about timers and counters in Connected Components Workbench. I'm going to be using the Micro850 PLC, but this works with all the Micro800 PLCs. And honestly, the methods that I'm showing on how we're going to learn these instructions probably work with most PLCs. Now, if you're coming from the last live stream, then you're probably like, well, hey, wait, didn't we talk about timers and counters at the end of the last one? Well, we kind of did. I was kind of running out of steam. You had watched me for 2 hours, so I know you were running out of steam. And so I decided we needed to back up and kind of talk about a few things. Some really good questions came in about them. A few of you asked for clarifications. And one thing that kept coming up is the differences on counters between RS Logix 500, Studio 5000, and Connected Components Workbench. And there is a big difference between those that we need to address and talk about how to get around, or not get around, yeah, I guess get around, because a lot of you are working with the Micrologix 1400 or 1100 or one of those, and the 1400 is active mature, the rest of them are obsolete. And so you're doing conversions and you're running into an issue on the counters. Now, I can't fix the counter, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to make we'll call it an RS Logix or maybe a Studio 5000 counter. I'm not exactly sure what we'll call it. And we will learn actually about data structures and about how to make a user-defined function block. Now, if you are coming into this and you are just like, hey, I don't even know anything about what you're talking about, Studio 5000, RS Logix 500, don't worry about that. I will give you enough info to that you know why we're doing what we're doing, but really just understanding the timers and the counters your goal. And yeah, you're going to get a little bit of bonus of learning about some user-defined function blocks. Also, another question that came up quite a bit was, do you have a book to go along with it? I do not have a book. You wouldn't want a book written by me, but I have the PLC professor here. And this is his Connected Components Workbench, hands-on learning. This is part 1, and this is part 2 for the Micro800 PLC. And I'm actually going to show a few examples today in this, but he does a really good job at giving some good visuals, giving some good lab exercises, and highlighting some of those differences like I'm going to talk about today about how RS Logix work compared to Connected Components. And I'll just highlight one more. This is the book that goes along with it, Connected Components Workbench for the PanelView 800 and the PowerFlex 525. Those 3 books right there will give you a good leg up to, give you something to kind of work through in addition to these lessons. A little bit about the chat. Feel free to ask any questions you want in the chat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll through the content for a while, and then I'll stop and I will catch the chat up. But yeah, if you have a question that's not even associated with timers or counters, feel free to ask those. And yeah, we are going to start in Connected Components Workbench. Oops. There you go. This is why you test before you go. You guys are going to have to see a funky screen for a second because apparently I have the wrong display. So now I got to go find the right display. And if I was actually a pro, I probably have. Well, actually, my son was here. We'd have gotten this for me. There we go. That's what you want to be looking at. That looks a little better for you. And yeah, so we're starting Connecting Components Workbench. One thing, I did just install version 22. The last video was in 23. I don't see any major differences, but there is a little bit of color difference, and there is one thing missing, kind of, but it's not even enough to talk about today. So we're just going to start with a new project. And I'm going to hit create. Actually, I should give it a name. So I'm just going to call this my counter and timer. And then we're going to add our PLC. And so under controllers, I'm going to go to Micro850. And I have an L50E. This is going to be a 2080 L50E 24QBB. And I'm going to hit the select and add to project. And very important, and I'm not going to do it just so we can have a reminder of this, but very important, the first thing you need to do, because this is one thing I don't like about Connected Components, is when you create a new project, it goes to obtain IP address automatically. you need to hit the configure button. And then if we were using our default PLC trainer, it would be 192, 168, 110, and it would have a subnet of 255, 255, 255, 0. Now I'm going to actually act like I didn't do that. Actually, let me go ahead and blank that completely out, because there's one, and I know I stressed it in the last live stream, but this gets me every time, so it's worth stressing again. I'm going to put it back like it was and act like I didn't know to do that. And next we're going to create a program. So we're going to right click programs, add, and we're going to be doing a ladder diagram. And then we'll double click on prog 1 in the left side. And we're going to bring down a go look for one direct contact. And I am going to look at my green button. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is this is wired per our getting started guide, and down in the description, I forgot about the description. This seems to happen every time. Down in the description, you will find a link to our courses. Just go to the Connected Components Workbench course, and you'll see the wiring enough to get started diagram. And also there is a link to the PLC professor's 3 books. And I highly recommend going ahead and clicking on those and purchasing his books. But in our case, input 4 is going to be our green button. So I'm going to put underscore IO. That gets me to my IO. This is our embedded module. So underscore EM. And then DI for digital input, and then number 4. And we need to go and put a description on that. Let's go ahead and put a description on all of those. So they'll be the exact same as the last live stream. So we're going to use the alias column. Input 4 will be the green button. 5 is the yellow button. 6 is the red button. 7 is the blue button. And 8 is switch 1. And that is our wiring enough to get started wiring. And then we'll go ahead and grab our outputs while we're at it. You know, I want to go ahead and compliment one thing on version 33 that I never could figure out why they couldn't do in the original or the earlier connecting components. Notice they're in alphabetical order now. I never understood why the digital outputs were above the digital inputs, but every time I would put, in fact, probably every video you have of me, I go use an output 4 for the green button and yellow button, and then we have to go back and correct it. So that is one nice thing. I'm sorry, I think it said 23. This is version 22. But yeah, it doesn't matter whichever version you're in, as long as you get the right ones, it'll work fine. So output 0 is going to be the green light. Output 1 is going to be the yellow light. Output 2 is going to be the red light. And output 3 is going to be the blue light. And then we'll go back to our ladder diagram, and we're going to bring down an instruction block. And we'll double click on the instruction block, and we're just going to type the letter T, O, and N. That brings up our TON, which is probably the most common timer that you see in RS Logix 500 or Studio 5000. And so we're going to start with that one. And we're going to need a preset time. We want to be able to play with that probably. So I am going to go ahead and double click on the bottom section of this. That's going to bring up where we can create one. I'm going to call this our timer preset. And the data type of time is correct. And what I like to do, and you know, it was funny, I just had this conversation with another manufacturer, not Alan Bradley, you know, talking about how to do lessons, is what I'm showing you to do here is really how you can probably figure out, we'll say on a deeper level, how any instruction works. That, along with those books from the PLC professor, will really get you going. Is what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring another rung down. And we're going to put a go look for one, examine on. And notice, actually, you know, I should have renamed this. I always forget to do this. Is right now the name of this tag is TON_1. That's a really bad name. And it created a local variable called TON, a first timer. And that's really scary because I just saw OBS reconnection successful. So hopefully that wasn't a big hiccup. If it was, throw in the chat that I need to back up. I didn't realize it until it told me that. Okay, but if we open this up, then we have an N, a PT, a Q, an ET, a P date, and a reg. And I really firmly feel that Connected Components Workbench does a better job at timers than Studio 5000 or RS Logix 500. And mainly because they get one or preset. We'll talk about it in a second. But I really have a hard time sometimes convincing users that there is no magic in the TON instruction that is tracking the time. It's all in these tags. And in RS5 Studio 5000, in fact, let me just, yeah, because I have this open because I wanted to show the counter in a little bit. But let's go ahead and right click controller tags, new tag, and I'm just going to call this my first underscore timer. And we'll make its data type timer. When we look in it, we have an accumulated, done, EN, preset, and a TT. And everybody's always kind of like, yeah, I guess the TON magically times it. But I have an older video where I show there's actually an extra word of data in here, or actually it's part of, you see you have 3 booleans. Well, there is, it is actually a double integer, and there's, what, 29 out of the bits, and that's how it's tracking the time. And I think really, oops, Connected Components did us a real justice by letting us see how they're tracking the time. And I think that I've found that people grasp this a lot quicker. But okay, that was enough of a rabbit trail on that. Let's get back over here. What I want to do is I want to bring all this info down so we can kind of see how it works on the lights. It kind of lets you kind of get, you know, the hands-on piece of this instead of being all in the PC. So I'm going to type first underscore timer. And then, oops, we are going to hit period. That brings up all the options, and we have a Q. So I'm going to select the Q, and we're going to put an output energized, direct contact, and we're going to put this to the green light. Now, since I put descriptions in, I can just type green, and there's my green light. Okay, now, first question that I really blew over last time is I'm going to copy this, and I'm actually just going to paste it back in place. Is I blew over that there is also a Q parentheses Q parentheses. I don't know why this is here, but if you select it and you see it looks like it's selected, once you actually click off of it, it goes to first timer Q. So I don't know why there are 2 of them there, but now you know there are 2 of them there. And so the other bit is the reg, and it's going to do the same thing. If I select the reg, I get the first timer reg. If I select the first timer reg without an E and in parentheses reg with an E, it takes me back to that. And we're going to put that on our yellow light. And we also had our elapsed time here. And just so we can see that we could do something different, let's bring another new rung down. And let's bring an instruction block down and double click on it. And we're going to use a greater than. Now, this is one thing, if you're used to RS Logix 500 or Studio 5000, this is a little bit of a struggle. It's even a bigger struggle if we could talk about 36 of 5000, but I really struggle with shapes and symbols. And so if you're like me, this really is hard to understand what this is. You have a theme button up here. And so just so we see what the theme does, we're going to hit the drop down and select Logix. And just pay attention to this, this greater than, or this Pac-Man symbol to the left when I hit this. So that switches us over. We go right back here. And now it says a GRT. So the Logix puts these instructions into what we've been used to seeing in RS Logix 500 and Studio 5000. Now, I've been working really hard trying to get used to this style, which is the IEC 61131 standard. And so I am going to stick with it just to work on my practicing of that also. But now we're going to bring a direct contact down. And so for I1 of our greater than, I'm going to go and get the first timer dot ET. And then for the less than, I'm going to put in a value of 5, just so we can see we don't actually have to put tags. We could just put a number here. And we're going to make that turn on our red light. Okay. So this is going to be the start, our first timer. So we're going to go ahead and download this, and let me go ahead and clear out my path. So it'll be just, oops, nope, it's already clear. That's right. This is a new program. And so right here is the download button, and I'm going to click it. Unable to get to, oh, well, there you go. We'll learn about the build button too. Expecting time data to, oh yes, okay. Now this, I just told you that I really like the timers in here, but here's an old habit. I put 5 in, which really that would have been horrible in any on any planet, because 5 would be 5 milliseconds in Studio 5000, and it would depend on the particular RS Logix 500, but it would not be 5 seconds. This, if we were in Studio 5000, would have needed to be 5,000 per 5,000 milliseconds. But that doesn't work in Studio 5000. I mean, in a Connected Components Workbench. And this is probably my favorite thing about Connected Components. I think this is something I wish they would bring over to Studio 5000, is to put a timer in, or a timer value. I'm going to put T, number sign, and then if I want a 5-second timer, I put 5S in. That is 5 seconds. Now, if I want 5,000 milliseconds, I'm going to put 5,000 and I put MS. And when I hit the enter key, notice it takes it and makes it 5,000 milliseconds. Or I can put in, oops, actually, that doesn't feel right. Let me hit the build button on that. All right, going, is it milliseconds I can do? Let's make sure it does not have an issue. All right, build succeeded. Yeah, so you can't put milliseconds. But if I want a 1-minute timer, instead of putting 60 seconds or 60,000 milliseconds, I can put 1M, and that's going to be a 1-minute timer. Or if I want an hour, there's 1 hour of a timer. And in this case, I did just want 5 seconds. So we're going to put 5 seconds in. And that should get us going. Now we'll hit the download button. And remember, I still have this error, but I want us to walk through this. Hopefully I don't accidentally hit the wrong button sitting here talking to you. I'm going to try to pay attention because this bites me so many times, but we'll get to use my IP Explorer if I mess this up. Now, if you're using our trainer, the IP address is going to be 192.168.110. I'm actually running on this trainer right now, 44. So I'm going to hit the OK button. And I'm going to download, and I'll say typically you download with project values. I probably should do a separate video sometime on what exactly that means. And okay, we are so used to the next prompt that, and I do it probably half the time, is usually this is asking, do you want to put the controller back in run mode? And I click yes. But this is not doing that. This is downloading with Ethernet settings will result in disconnection from controller. Do you want to continue? If you click yes to this, you will lose connection to this controller. And since I left it at the default of DHCP, you're going to need a way to assign an IP address to it. So I'm going to click no, just so we can see how we can get out of this if we do this wrong. So what that is, that downloaded the program except this IP address right here. Now we get the default prompt of download is complete, change back to run mode. And that's the one, it's in the same spot. I get it has different words, but I don't read the words. And so usually end up messing that up. All right. And then let me show you how to fix that. If you accidentally did that though, is now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to this Micro800 tab, and we have a button here, update from controller. And I click the update button, and that switches it to reading the configure from IP and doing that. So it'll be fixed for next time. All right, before we go there, let me just catch up the chat here. So let's see, what do we got? Arena, say hello. Hank Prum. Are the junior board of directors? Are they here today? Oh, I should have got the junior board. I have awesome hats from the junior board of directors. I should have brought those in. Curiosity Garage. Looking forward to part 2 at the end of this month. I'm looking forward to having you. Lee Savage. Hey, how's it going? Dave Griffith. Where are you today? What country are you in? What state are you in? Dave Griffith is like, that's the first question I ask him every time I see him because it seems like he is somewhere else every time. Oh, Michael must want something. Michael Wilborne's in the house. He's saying, "Good afternoon, kind man." I guarantee you he wants an upgrade to his computer or something. Sandro, I didn't know about selecting the theme in CCW. Yes, that is an outstanding feature they added in version, oh, 13, 14. And yeah, but if you don't know it's there, it is kind of like, what is that? Now, there's a few pitfalls to it, and we'll talk about them probably later in this series, not in this particular video. But yeah, that's an important one to know. Oh, they're at day camp. Well, very fun, Hank. All right, but let's talk about how this works now. So one, I need to put a preset on here, and remind me, I probably will forget, because here's another thing we need to learn is when we go offline, we're going to lose this preset. And if somebody will throw it in the chat about the time I'm going offline to talk about the TOF, that, hey, we need to talk about this preset. But all right, now I have a preset of 10, elapsed time of 0, and we have our green button, and we should have a green light and a yellow light and a red light. And I like doing it this way. That way, one, you can kind of hit a button, you can kind of see exactly what's going on. But I'm going to press the green button, and immediately we see our elapsed time starting to go up. And we saw there that just passed on. That was really fast. So I will have to do this again. I probably should have done this for 20 seconds. But all right, one thing about version 23, 22, I don't know why I keep saying 23, that I really, really like is, and I wish they would pare it down a little more, is there was so many different colors. In fact, do I still have? Yeah, here we go. Because I was looking for something. This is actually, you notice we're going through almost the same thing that we were then. What is true? What is false? We have blue over here. We have red over here. We have so many colors that I really struggled with this. And I get you can change any color, but I try to leave everything at the default that you'll see when you get your software going. And so I do believe this is slightly better. I kind of would still love to see them make this a little grayer or, something. But now we press the green button. Let's just pay attention to this blue line. Is immediately this goes to green. Green means that it is true. And after 10 seconds, we'll see this line go green. So I do believe that's a little nice touch. If they could get rid of like every bit of the rest of the color, I think they would be really starting to get somewhere with this. But all right, let's talk about the Q bit next. So I press the green button and the Q bit is a 0. And when it gets to 10 seconds, you will see the Q bit go to a 1. So on a TON, the Q means that the instructions preceding the TON are true, and the elapsed time, or ET, is greater than or equal to the preset. And we have a green light on. Now let off of it, green light goes out. Next, we have the reg, and the reg is a 0 when the instructions preceding the TON are false. I press the green button, and the reg immediately goes to a 1. And after 10 seconds, it will stay a 1. So reg means simply that the instructions preceding the TON are true. And somebody did ask, well, what does reg stand for? And actually, if you double click on reg, then they do have some default comments out here. And on some of them, they're good, some of them, they're bad. But this is a rising edge, although I'm not sure I really agree with being described as a rising edge because it's not rising now. But anyway, this means the instructions preceding are true. And in Studio 5000, we would have called this the EN bit. Also, I forgot to say that the Q bit is what we would have called the done bit in both Studio 5000 and RS Logix 500. Next, we have a greater than, and I mainly like to throw this one in there so we realize that we can do stuff besides just looking at Qs and regs. So I let off the green button, that takes our TON to false, which always I like to talk about because even in my class, I ask people all the time, so what does that mean a false TON does? And I will say that 9 times out of 10, they always say nothing. And 0 is such a powerful number. In fact, Insane Curiosity's out there. He's probably like, yeah, I remember all the stress of 0. But yeah, a false TON will write a 0 to everything, but its preset value. And so when I let off the button, that set the elapsed time to 0. 0 is not greater than 5 seconds, so it will be false and our red light is out. I press and hold my green button and my time starts going up. And as soon as you see this pass 5S, then the red light comes on. All right. So now let's talk about the TOF because it's the other half of the, oh, nope. Let's talk about one more thing because there is one thing missing compared to Studio 5000. In Studio 5000, we also have a TT or a timer timing bit. Now, while we don't have that in Connected Components Workbench, we can make one. So I'm going to disconnect. And yes, I'm going to take your, actually, I'm not going to do the preset this time. And next time I will. That way you can see, I want you to see why I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Is we're going to disconnect. And we're going to bring another new rung down. And yeah, the timer timing is not in Connected Components Workbench, but we do actually have it. Because in Studio 5000, the timer timing is true whenever the first timer is enabled and the preset is less than the and the accumulated value is less than the preset, or it is not done. And that's what we're going to do here. So we are going to bring down a go look for a 1, examine on, and we're going to look at this first timer Q bit. So go find your first timer and the, whoops, dot Q. And then we'll go look for 0, reverse contact, and we'll go find the first timer. And this time, oops, I got this backwards. This is the dot Q. That's the done bit. This is the reg, which is the enable. And just so we can see what will happen, we'll bring down and we'll use the blue light for this one. And okay, now pay attention to the preset. I had it at 10 seconds. When I went offline though, it's gone back to the default value. So when I hit the download button here, I'm going to download with project values. Actually, this will be good. Now let's stay on task. I have a hard time staying on task sometimes. Also, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, you guys should learn about this too. But yes, stick with it. Here it is. Now we'll put it back and run. And notice our preset went back to 0. So next time I'll show you how you can fix that. But for this time, I'm just going to double click on it. And I am going to change its value back to 10 seconds. And all right, so really the blue light will be on whenever you see this elapsed value going up. So I'm going to press the green button and immediately the blue light does come on. And after 10 seconds, you'll see the blue light go out. So there's how you can get your timer timing if you need it. Okay, let's disconnect from this. And first, let's talk about what I really, actually, I'm going to reconnect. And let's talk a little, yeah, because I'm online over here. So in Studio 5000, if I hit the save button, I get this prompt here. Online values may have changed since the last upload. To ensure current values that are saved, you should upload them. And it asks if you want to do it. And we hit yes to this. That uploaded all those values in there. Now in here, if I hit the save button, it doesn't do anything. It's still just saving the structure. It's not saving these values. And I really feel there just should be a upload tag value or variable value in here, but there isn't that I know of. So what I know to do is I'm going to disconnect, and then I right click the Micro850 and I upload. And then it asks me, do you want to upload with logical values? I click upload with logical values. And this is actually uploading the entire program, which I still, if it's a very involved program, I mean, that can be time consuming. That's one thing I just feel there should be an easier way to do that nobody's been able to show me yet. But now, if we go offline and we go and look at that timer preset, has the project value of 10 seconds over here. So now what we want to do, we want to change this to a TOF timer. And to do that, we're just going to double click on it. And we want the timer off delay. So I'm going to select it. But I want it to be the same thing it was before. So I'm going to type first underscore, whoops, that was terrible, timer. Uh-oh. What do I, oh, it's not going to let me do that. Okay, well, first timer wasn't a great word anyway. So we're going to call this our TOF timer. And we'll still use the same timer preset. And now we need our TOF timer. And we want the dot Q again. And then in this case, it'll be the TOF dot. And last time it was the reg, now we have the fetch. Now, same thing. If I select fetch without an E and in parentheses spelled correctly, it comes up with fetch. I really don't know why there are two copies of that there. Maybe somebody can tell me one day. But all right, we're going to do mainly that right there. And actually, we're going to grab these. Actually, let's leave the TT alone on this one. That way we can just talk about it. All right, and that should be it. So we're going to download this program. And yeah, let's watch the timer preset when we download this time. Uh-oh. Well, depends on how many times I get an error come up. What did it do? Oh, yeah, got to change that one too. TOF. And we want the elapsed time. Go ahead and download that. And I don't even know if I brought it up, but you notice last time we did not get the prompt about the Ethernet address because it was in there now. And we just get the prompt to go back to run mode. And now we have a timer preset of 10 seconds that got downloaded with it. And that's mainly because of, whoops. So I don't know why it doesn't show up when you're online, but yeah, it's that column right there. If you go offline, it'll show it to you. But yeah, since we had that physical value that we uploaded, it'll put it in there now. And all right, let's talk about the TOF then. So I press the green button and my timer does not time. I let off of it and then it starts timing. So a TOF timer will time when it is false. Now, one myth that a lot of people have about both, Studio 5000, RS Logix 500, and Connected Components Workbench is they think that these time down. The timer is still going to time up. It's mainly it times when it's false instead of when it's true. All right, then we have the Q bit. So I'm going to press and hold the green button. And notice my Q bit is true. And it'll stay true as long as the instructions preceding the the TOF are true. I let off of it and it stays true as long as this is timing. And when it gets to 10 seconds, the Q bit goes out and the green light goes off. So this is still the enable bit. I'm sorry, this is the done bit in Studio 5000 and RS Logix 500. So then we have the fetch bit. And so I press and hold, and immediately it goes to a 1. I let off of the green button and immediately it goes to a 0. So this is the EN inside of the this is the EN, or simply means the instructions preceding the TOF are false. Now the TT would be when the instructions pursue. Let me go through that one time so we can talk about why. Okay, so right now the fetch is false. The fetch is a 1. So the timer, it's going to start timing when the fetch is a 0 and the cupid is a 1. So that one is a little bit different. Next, we have to spend a lot of time, usually in our class weeks, kind of talking about that. Because, yeah, the timer timing and the done do work different, the TOF and the TOM. But, yeah, I will say that you'll probably see 99 TONs for every TOF you see. So these always are kind of stumbling blocks when you run into them in programs, but they're good to practice on. All right, we're going to do one more of the timers. We're going to go ahead and disconnect again. And we're going to double click on it. And we are going to get the RTO timer because that's the other big one that you'll see used. And I would love it if it would just let me go back to first timer, which, oh, well, I still got to change everything else. So now we're just going to make this our RTO timer. Yeah, in your programs, please make your descriptions better than that. Make it whatever it's timing for. All right, we are going to use the timer oops, okay, first of all, this has a built-in reset. Almost forgot about that. So we have to reset this externally. So we're going to bring a new rung down. I'm going to bring it right down that RTO. Actually, no, we don't even need to do that. Let's do it, Yeah, I should. Just so no, let me just talk through it. So notice in our timer over here, there is no reset. So in Studio 5000, you actually would have a separate reset instruction here. And we do have it in Connected Components Workbench, but if I was to bring down an RTO instruction in this, there is no reset. So a real nice feature is they have the reset built right in here. So I'm going to use the yellow button to reset this. So I'm just going to type yellow, and there's our yellow button. So then our preset time, that is our timer preset. And now we're going to go through and fix these. So this was the queue. It's going to stay the queue. In fact, well, let's look and see what we have. So RTO, timer, whoops, dot. And yeah, so we have a queue, we have an iFetch and an iReg, and we're going to put them all in. So there's the queue, RTO, dot iReg, and I think y'all probably you could put this on something else. I'm just going to reuse this one there. Yeah, we're just going to reuse this one. Let's delete that out because it's going to work exactly the same as it's worked on the last two. And we'll go get the RTO dot iReg. And we'll go ahead and download this. All right, and since we did that with the project values, there you go. We have our 10 seconds still in. And this time I don't want you to press and hold the green button. I just want you to press and release the green button. And notice our timer went up to 453 milliseconds. Now, the cool part about the RTO timer is when I press the green button again, I'm just going to press it for approximately the same amount. It picks up where it last timed and continues timing. Now, I really don't like that they call this a retentive timer on because all data in this PLC is retentive. but mainly it has to do with what does it do when it's false. And this is why I stress this so much on the TON. When a TON is false, it's going to write a 0 to everything but the preset. When an RTO is false, it does nothing. And if nothing writes to something, it'll stay where it was. So I press the green button, line off of it, I can press it again, slide off of it. Now, notice the iReg is happening down here. So this is your timer enable. And then the Q button, the Q, I'm at 8.5 seconds. I press and hold it for another 1.5 seconds, and the Q will go to a 1, and my green light turns on. Also notice now the fetch is turning on and off. And it seems like this is the one that someone asked about, and I was like, man, I really don't know. So let's double click on the Q. And let's look over, oops. See, actually, I double clicked on the Q, but I actually wanted the iReg and iFetch. So these bottom ones here, I believe is this the one that, no, okay, this one does have a description. One of them didn't, and I was like, I really don't know for sure. In rising edge, in falling edge, but that's not what it does. That's where I'm not really sure. But okay, there's actually more words here. Let's see what all these other words are. Oh, they got lots more words. Bring it on over. Probably should have just opened up the variables at this point. Okay, so we're on this one. True when n is a 1, and that is the reg. And yeah, so this is the one I know. The reg is the one that is the enable. Now the fetch, though, true when the en is a 0, false when it's 1. But is that right? So right now, I agree with it. Maybe it is. And yeah, I think somebody asked why or something. I was like, I really don't know. But okay, the last thing is we have a reset, and it is on the yellow button. So I press the yellow button. That goes back to a 0. And let me look at that iFetch again. Yeah, I guess that is it. I guess, yeah, somebody was asking, well, why do they have these if they just alternate? I don't know why they do. But the iReg is the enable in Studio 5000 and RS Logic 5000. And same deal, if you're enabled, actually in the RTO, if you're enabled and the Q bit is a 0, that is your TT. And yeah, there is no iReg in Studio 5000 or RS Logic 500, so don't worry about that one, I guess, if you're trying to do a conversion. All right, so really, those are the timers. There are a couple more, but these are the ones that you'll most commonly see. And I want to get on to the counters before we all get tired, because the counters, there is, I don't want to call it an issue, but there is a major difference we need to understand. And so we're really quickly going to do the count up and count down counters. And then we're going to mainly work on the C, or actually, you know something, let's try to combine. No, let's do them one at a time. So let's go offline. And in this case, yeah, we'll just go ahead and we'll continue what we're doing. We're going to double click on the RTO. And I want you to type CTU. That's going to bring our count up counter up. We're going to change it to that. All right, now it has a reset also, which coincidentally we already had it at the yellow button, so we're going to leave it at the yellow button. All right, now we have a counter preset we need now. So I'm going to type counter preset, and it needs to be a double integer instead of a time value, so it's good. And then let's go find this one's value. So we're going to go find the CTU 01 dot. And we've got a serval here we need to look at. We got a Q. We're going to go ahead and use the Q again. And again, I don't know why there's a Q and a Q parentheses, Q parentheses. If you select this one, it takes you right back to the other one. And then the CTU dot, we want the CU. And, you know, just so we can say we did it, let's go and let's delete this back out. And let's bring another instruction block down. And we're going to put that greater than back in. And if our CTU dot CV is greater than 2, let's turn on the red light. Okay, go ahead and download this. And we'll download our project values. Which, yeah, while that's downloaded, let's see. Well, Michael already got my upgrade. That's right. He paid for it with his own money. He's doing a good job. He's actually working on a process control trainer for us right now. So that should be coming out soon. Let's see. Craig Donnelly, looking forward to future videos with you and Josh on networking. Yes. See if I can. I got to go to Texas. I don't know if you saw my post about me doing my roping. I got to see if I can get Josh roped in real good on some videos. I think that'll be really beneficial for you. So, I can do the basics, but Josh, I mean, I learned more, just being being a fly on the wall with him as far as networking. I'm really excited. If you don't know what we're talking about, I am going to Trace RouteCon on September 17th and 18th in Plano, Texas. And yeah, I'm going to learn about more of industrial networking technology and all the things that I don't even know what to say I'm learning. Ryan, good afternoon to you too. All right, so we have a countdown. We're going to make our preset. I'm going to put the preset at 5. All right. First of all, we see we have a green button, which goes to the CU. And notice we have a PCU down here. So I press and hold the green button. I got one count here. And also, I have a CU bit. Now, I love highlighting things like the CU bit because, again, a lot of people think the CTU is magical. But this thing is scanning pretty fast. I don't know what its scan time is. I'm not going to go look at it right now, but it's in the millisecond, if not microsecond range. So when this became true, it counted up by 1. Now it's going to come around, 5 milliseconds later. It's got to remember that it already counted. And that's what the CU does, is it writes a 1 to the CU. That way it knows, hey, I don't need to count you again. So I let off of it. CU goes to a 0. I press it again. We get a 2 here. CU goes up again. And right now I have a great, oops. I didn't know if a not equal to here. Oopsies. That's all right. Well, we get to see how a not equal to works. Is right now, 2 is not equal to 2, or is to equal to 2. So this is false. I press it again. That gives us a 3 and our red light comes on. So there you go. Just learned about a new instruction. 4, 5, and here is where it gets different than Studio 5000. In fact, talking about Timothy Gates' books, this is one thing I love about his books. Is yes, if you happen to have a book, I'm on page 200. He has a lot of views. Oh yeah, this is really great. But he has a lot of good notes for RS Logic's users. And mainly down there, he says with the Micro800 controller, you have a CTU, a CTD, and a CTUD instruction. If you want to increment and decrement a value, use the CTUD, like the timer. And then he goes on to say, with a CTD instruction, it counts down from the preset like a preset of 0 will not yield anything because there's nothing to count down from. And he goes on to talk about that. Where is it exactly? Because I know he says it. Should have probably highlighted this. I should highlight this. See, there's only one counter down a type when you execute the 3 instructions, not an up, not a down. The false to true transition of the CTU and increments the accumulated value after it equals the preset. It doesn't work that way in Connected Components. So when I press this button here, it's not counting up anymore. And this is a big difference from Studio 5000. That's why I have this open over here. Let's go ahead and look at it in Studio so we see the difference. So I'm going to, I don't have any, well, I do have wires on it, but this is one of our stations the technicians use, and it's about 40 feet away. So I'm going to right click the green button. And we have toggle bit down here. And what this is going to do is it's going to put in this 1 in this box. That does have arbitrarily there. And we got a count up of 1. And we right click, toggle bit off, right click again, and we can toggle on. We get a count of 2. Now I want to do that. Notice we have a Control T, and I'm going to use Control T the rest of it just so I can do it a little smoother. It is now On gives me 3, off. On gives me 4, off. On gives me 5, off. Now if I hit it again, it keeps counting on up. And that does not work that way in Connected Components Workbench. Now beyond that, the Q means that the elapsed time or the count value is greater than or equal to the preset. We already talked about the CU bit. And then also, well, besides my oops there, we can see we can look at values and compare. All right, really quickly, let's do the CTD and the CTUD because I think y'all probably get the part about the counters, but then we're going to talk about how we can, or one option for fixing it. So I'm going to just double click here. We're going to change this to a CTD instruction, and that means we'll change this to a CTD instruction. Oops. That's what I get for trying to shortcut. Oh, well, that's just terrible. CTD instruction, and we'll change you to a CTD instruction. Oh, whoops. Okay, well, there you go. I'm trying to shortcut. There is no CU bit. We're going to have a CD bit. And then we want the CTD. All right, I think I got it. So we're going to hit the download button. See, while we're downloading that, Michael Spillman, I'm just beginning my mechatronics degree. You're a great teacher, Tim. I'm so excited to find your channel a few months ago. Well, I am glad you, and I'm glad you liked and subscribed this. Everybody else, have you already liked and subscribed? You know, I almost never shout that out. I probably should more often, but you know, we put out 2 videos a week. And right now we're rolling through a very comprehensive series on executing an automation project from concept to reality. I mean, from building the mechanical frame to building the control panel, selecting components. And I made it real life. Like the startup did not go great. So I actually recorded a lot of the mistakes I made in the startup. And so a lot of good information there. I hope y'all like it. All right. But yeah, so we have a CTD. And actually, this is the sentence I was reading. So I was like, that isn't what I read earlier. But okay. If we press the green button, notice nothing happens. Besides, obviously you saw it go true, but we didn't get a count down or anything. Is you need a counter preset value here. And I'm going to make it 5 again. And then in this case, I'm going to use the reset button to load that value in to my CV. And now if I press the green button, it's going to count down. I'll press it again. It's going to count down. Press it again. It's going to count down. Press it one more time. Whoops. Can't count. We're going to press it one more time. That gets us 0. Now, watch. I'm pressing it again. We get a 1 on the CD, but we do not count down. And this is different than Studio 5000. So over here, if I press my yellow button, it goes down. Yellow button again goes down. I'm going to press it a bunch of times because I had it way up there. And mainly we're at 2, 1, 0, and it will count negative. And so in Studio 5000, a counter will count all the way to its positive, maximum positive number, which is in the 2 billionth range, and it'll count negative to the maximum negative number. And that does not hold true in this. All right, so now let's talk about the CTUD, because it is kind of a convenient counter, is if we disconnect here, we double click, and we're going to get the CTUD. And in this case, we have a green button. That's going to be our count up. I'm going to use the yellow button this time for the count down, which means I'm going to use my red button for a reset. And we're going to use a blue button for this load. And then we have a preset value, and that will be our counter preset. And then we have serval on this one to work with. So let's go ahead and find our CTUD. And first, we're going to grab our CU bit, just so we can look at it. And then we'll grab our CTUD. And let's grab our CD bit. because this is a combination of the count up and count down, but let's go ahead and have a look at it. I think we see that this would work the same, so I'm going to reuse this one. Let's bring a go look for a 1 down and go back into the CTU D1. And let's grab, we have a QU, and then let's right click that rung and copy, and right click that rung and paste. And let's grab the QD, and same thing. I can't explain to you why there is these extra copies of it, but yeah, all I can tell you is when you select it, it goes back to the one it was. All right, that gives us enough, I think, to see what we need to see. So we're going to go ahead and download this. And while that's downloading, Logan is asking, why does CCW look so different from Studio? CCW looks closer to CodeSys to me at many times. Why the departure? This isn't actually a departure as much as this was a development originally based on the IEC 61131 standard. And I know there's been a lot of griping about it. I think there's less griping there used to be, but it really was designed with that standard in mind. And that is what CodeSys is mostly based on. And so that's why it kind of looks very similar to it. And that's the goal, is to make it where all platforms use the same, or I'm sorry, all brands use kind of the same platform programming wise. Now, in the end, there's so many variations that I don't know how excited I get about it. But the thing is, like I told everybody who complains about it, it's here. You know, we're not gonna. There's no undo button on it. You know, they wrote the standard in 1993, so it's been 20. I don't know, a lot of years, and so you know, people are starting to adopt it, and yeah, I think you'll probably see over time Studio 5000 come more to this. In fact, I'm not going to get too far into it, but if you go to Studio 5000 version 36, they've changed quite a few instructions to make it more like the standard. So it's probably not a departure. It probably is. This is a little more ahead of the curve on the, we'll call it the interface evolution. All right, let's go ahead and put a counter preset of 5 again. And right now, our QU is a 0, our QD is a 1. And if I press the green button, my count goes up. Also, notice my QD went to a 0. I press my green button again, it counts up again. I'm going to press and hold it this time so we see that is the CU bit. That's how it remembers it counted. We'll press and hold it again. That gives us 4. We'll press it one more time. That gives us 5. And when we do that, we get the QU bit. The QU bit means that your count value is equal to your preset value. And if we press the green button again, we see that our CU is true, but we do not get an additional count. It only counts up to its preset value, and then it stops. I press my yellow button, it goes down, and immediately my QU goes back to a 0. And I'm going to press it down to 1. And our QD is still a 0. And I press it one more time, the QD goes to a 1. And the QD means that your count value equals 0. Now I press it one more time and I get nothing. And so this is a huge issue, is what a lot of people are telling me. You know, they're trying to convert their Studio 5000 or their MicroLogix programs, and this isn't working. And so what we're going to do, and I hope this works, and here's where, you know, sometimes you guys are going to have to level graces. I've never actually done this before today. So we are going to attempt to make a count up down counter. And I am going to make it a count up down counter just so we have one package together, because I feel that's missing from Studio 5000. Or well, let me take that back. It's missing from their ladder logic. And we're going to try to integrate it really nicely, make a user-defined function block, yeah, a new structure, and go through some things. But we're going to do it slowly so that we can understand why we're doing the things we're doing. And let's see how this goes. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and go offline. And in fact, Yeah, it's going to be easier to start fresh. So let's just right click. Oops, can't select all there. Okay, well, let's just hit the delete key until we have nothing in there. And we're going to go ahead and bring down a go look for a one. And we're going to put the green button back here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add to a count value instead of using the counter. So we're going to double click here and we're going to go for the plus sign. Now, if you're in Studio 5000 and you're really not familiar with them, if we switch over to Logic's view, here's another good example, that's the add instruction. I'm really working hard trying to get used to using the default view, kind of going back to what Logan was saying there. So I am going to stick over here for this. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to make a tag called counter ACC. Whoops. Now counter ACC. And I'm going to make it a data type of a double integer, a DINT, which is actually the count. That's actually the accumulated data type of a counter. And just so we can see that, let's double click here. Oops. Oh, and I deleted that out. I should have shown that before I did. Let's go ahead and put a counter in there so we see it. So I'm just going to put real counter. And we're going to make it a data type of, oops, CTU. Just so we can see. And we hit our arrow by it. Well, there you go. I'm old school. I'm using the A. Well, no, I'm going to do that because this is about how to replace a Studio 5000 counter. But they called it the CV, but in Studio it was the ACC. But it's a double integer. That's where I got that value from. So we're going to take the counter ACC and I'm going to add 1 to it. And I'm just going to copy this counter ACC and put it right here. Okay, now everybody, I know some of you getting ready to throw in the chat, hey, Tim, that's not going to work. I know it's not going to work. I just want us to see a couple things. I want us to understand why we're doing the things we're going to do. Is I'm going to go ahead and bring another new rung down because we also want to be able to count down. And I am going to use the yellow button. And we are going to put a subtract instruction in. And we're going to use this same count ACC. I'm just going to copy it. And we're going to paste there. We're going to paste there. And every time we are going to subtract by 1. And a lot of you get to this step right here and you're like, I don't know why my stuff isn't working the way I want. So let's go ahead and put this in so we can talk about what's happening. All right, and we wanted a nice counter, and I pressed the green button, and immediately I ended up with nearly 20,000 counts. And the issue is this PLC is, in fact, we should look at that scan time. Let me see if by some miracle I can find it really fast. If anybody knows it, throw it in the chat. I know I usually scroll and find it, but it ought to, honestly, it ought to be somewhere. Isn't it this one? I think they call it the cycle time. All right, there you go. So we're sub millisecond on this cycle time. And I think I could actually change this format somewhere and figure it out. But every millisecond, this program was looking for a 1 at the green button. So as long as I held it, this was true and it kept adding more to it. Now there are 2 ways we can fix this, and let's go and do it both ways. So let's go ahead and disconnect, because what we want to do is make it where this is only true 1 time each time we do something. So first of all, we have a different instruction to do this, and we also could do it with some simple logic. So this top one, I'm going to use some simple logic. Is what I can do is I can add an output energize, and I'm going to name this my counter. Oops, counter. And I got to figure out, I got to sound out all my spelling. CU. And we'll create that. And then we're going to make this a branch here. And I should have done it to start with, but yeah, now we'll drag that into the lower branch. And so now this will be true the first time. Well, we only want it to count when this is a 0. So if I go look for a 0 reverse contact here, and I find my counter CU, that's going to make this true one time. Okay, another way you can do it is what in Studio 5000 we would call a one-shot, but it works a little differently in Connected Components. This is another one of those instructions that is a little different. In fact, let me just pull up our student guide because that's probably the fastest way for me to get there. And we go down to page 10. So if we look in Studio 5000, rung 10 here, this is how you would do a one-shot in it and in RS Logix 5000 is you would have your go look for a 1 for whatever it is, and then you would have just a storage bit, just a bit for it to remember with, and that would make this execute one time. In Connected Components, we actually have a built-in instruction where it can look at a bit and only let it through one time. And it needs a P in the middle of this to do that. So if I go over to my properties while I have this highlighted, we have a modifier here. And you hit the drop down. There's the direct contact. This is a reverse contact, or go look for a 0. And we want a pulse rising edge contact. Now, another way to do it, I wish I could shout out the person who taught me this, but I can't think of their name right now, is while you have it highlighted, if you hit the space bar, that actually cycles through the different things. So we want this P instruction. Now, if you're coming from Studio 5000, you're probably like, I've never seen a P in front of it in the middle of that go look for one in my life. If we switch over to Logix view and go back in, this is the ONS instruction. Now, this ONS does not work the same, though. You would have to have a separate storage bit in it. It's all built into this thing. So just be aware that this is kind of how it would look there. I'm going to stick in the default view. And so if I've done this right, these should do the exact same thing. So I'm going to hit the download button. And now, if I press and hold my green, oops, got ahead of myself. Gotta wait for the little thing to quit spinning. Close you back out of the way. And now if I press and hold my green button, it counts one time. I let off of it, then I press it again, it counts one time. And similarly on rung 2, if I press and hold my yellow button, it subtracts one time. And I let off of it, it subtracts again. Now the advantage of this is now I press it again, I can count into the negative. And there is no preset, so this thing will count until we get to 2,147,483,647, if you want to know the exact number. So next we need a done bit. Because really in our other one we had a done bit. So yeah, let's go ahead and go back offline. And let's go and bring a new rung down. And whoops. Oh man, now I'm doing it. And bring down an instruction block. And the done bit is if the accumulated value is greater than or equal to the preset. Well, here is your greater than or equal to compare instruction. And so we want to compare whether this count.acc is greater than or equal to a counter preset. Counter P-R-E. Whoops. I want to stick with the Studio 5000. I could use this one, but just so we're, well, if I can get it in there. There we go. R-E. There we go. It is just new kind of, it is not letting me cooperate. There we go. We're just going to change that one. There we go. counter, RE. There we go, just so it's the same. Already is the right data type. And then we'll put an output energize on counter DN. And that is a Boolean tag. Now, the one other thing we would need to do is reset our counter. So we are going to use the yellow button. I'm sorry, I'm already using the yellow button. We're going to use the red button. And we don't have a reset for this, but we can move a 0 to it, and it'll be the exact same thing. So we'll just bring down an instruction block and bring an MOV in. And we are going to move a value of 0, because we can just put numbers there, to our counter.acc. And let's go ahead and download this. Okay, and so now the main ones we're going to focus on is rung 3, because that would be our done. It says our done is true right now, and that is because our preset is 0. So let's put our preset back at 5. And that makes our done a 0 because our cumulative value is not greater than or equal to our preset. I press my green button, that counts up. I press it again, counts up again. Bring it up to 4, and our done is a 0. I press it one more time, our done is a 1. And now I can press it again, and it can count above the done. And we can use our yellow button, and we can still count into the negative. And then our red button now is our reset. And I press my red button, that takes our count value back to 0. Because really the counter preset writes a 0 to everything, but the counter reset writes a 0 to everything but the preset. All right, the next real problem with doing what I'm doing here is, I got an ACC here, I got a preset here, and if we look at our variables, they're just all stuck out here. Whereas in the real counter, everything was nice and tidy. We had a CU, a reset, a PV. It's all, we got one thing here. So this is going to be scattered all over the place. And to resolve this, we're going to make a custom structure right here. Now, honestly, as I'm sitting here thinking about this, I really think I could probably take a CTUD and do this. But, one, I wanted just to learn about a structure. And also, if you're coming from Studio 5000, you want to right click and you want to monitor this and open your arrow. And this is the structure that you're hoping to see. And so, yeah, we want to put this exact structure in. Uh-oh. Well, oops, got the button checked. There you go. There's the structure that you feel that you should have right now. So I want to put it just like this. So let's go ahead and double click on our structure. And we'll go ahead and go to the bottom. I'm sorry, I said structure. Oh, no, I am structure. Oh, I'm online. Got to go back offline. And now if I open up structures, I'm going to make a Studio 5000 counter. I'll just call it, Studio 5000 counter. A little long, probably shouldn't be that long, but okay. So by that, we're going to have an arrow beside of it. And so now we just want to put them in the order we want them here. So we have an ACC, CU, CD, DN, OV, and a UN. So I'm going to type PRE, ACC, CU, CD, whoops, DN. So what's next? I can't remember. Yeah, DN, OV, and UN. DN, OV, UN. And the preset and the accumulated value, if we look over here, they're going to both be double integers. Everything else will be Boolean. So I now can make this a dent. And I can make this a dent. And now, if I go to my local variables, I can make a tag and call it. Actually, let's take that in order. Oh no, no. Let's do it over. Oh, where are we doing this? No, this is good. So I'm going to call this my. I hate to call it homemade counter. We're going to call it our studio. Yeah, studio counter. And its data type will be a Studio 5000 counter. And now if we open it up, we have the exact same structure that we're used to over in Studio 5000 and also in in RS Logix 500. It'd be the same structure. Now, one thing I didn't talk about is the OV and UN. I have videos on that, but mainly the OV means that you counted to the maximum positive number and it rolled over. And when it does, it actually goes to maximum negative number. The UN's the opposite. You counted down to the maximum negative number and then went up to the maximum positive number. But all right, that gets us into a structure. Now let's go ahead and take our time. We're going to clean up what we have here. We still got one more step to go, but let's clean this up now. So now this can be my Studio 5000 count or Studio Counter.cu. This is my Studio Counter.cd. Now I didn't actually use this method down here. We're going to use this now. So let's go ahead and bring us a branch down and we'll put an output energize in. And oops, I just did that wrong anyway. That's the CU. And here we'll put the Studio Counter.cd. And in front of it, we're going to put a go look for one, examine on for the Studio 5000 Counter.cd. Here, that gets that the exact same as the other one. We're going to take this pulse back off. But all right, so we have CU. So now we have the Studio 5000 Counter.acc. And so we'll copy that. And we'll paste there. And we'll paste there. We'll paste there. And actually, it's down here too. So we're going to paste there. And in our reset. So that gets that. Now, notice we're getting this truncation going on. I'm going to fix that for you in just a second. We're going to go ahead and get the PRE. Let's see, what else do I need? Oh, and the done. Okay, I think I covered it all. If not, we'll find out in a second. But all right, notice on these, this has gotten truncated. This is probably my pet peeve about connected components is it doesn't auto resize these columns. And so you're left with, and unfortunately, because it's not intuitive, I see all types of insane short words for this instead of actually naming it something descriptive because people are like, well, I got to be able to read it. And so what we want to do is we want to right click this white area over to the right of our ladder and go to properties right here. There's other ways to get there, but this seems to be the most consistent way. And we have a cell height and a cell width. And so if I change the cell width to 35, notice it widens every single cell up. I wish there was an auto size on every one, but there's not. But now we can read Studio Counter everywhere. So if you're having that trouble, just widen those out. Or maybe somebody will teach me how to do an auto resize one day. Okay, but that should do it. So let's go ahead and download this and see how it works. And let's see, while that's downloading, what does Logan say? See, shouldn't it show up like that if you're creating a function block? Like create a block, declare a block, then your variable will show up like you want? Well, I think that's what I was saying. I think probably I could fudge that, but really this piece right here is for the people that are coming from RS Logix 500 or Studio 5000, and they're really looking for that ACC, that PRE. They're looking for that type of nomenclature. So really, I'm just kind of rolling. How do we make a? Well, this probably should have been its own live stream. This is kind of how do you make a Studio 5000 counter in Connected Components Workbench. All right, but we are in, and we're going to go ahead and change our preset because I didn't think to actually make it a preset initially. Put it at 5. Oh, but look at there, right away. In fact, let's just roll this right in this. Here's my CU bit, and it's to the green. I press my green button, I get a checkbox in the CU, and my ACC goes to a 1. I let off of it, goes back to a 0. Press it again, it goes to a 2. I press my yellow button, which is the CD. You go, oh. Well, we have a learning opportunity, folks. That did not work the way it was supposed to. Why did you not? Oops. I have a go look for a 1 here. That should be a go look for a 0. All right, now, I haven't done let's go ahead because I haven't tested this yet. I hear that the run mode change is maybe slightly better in this one. I have not actually tried it. Now, this is not available with the free version of Connected Components, and I try not to use any of the free, non-free features because I know a lot of you are downloading the free version. Let's go and try it though. So I'm going to try to make a run mode change. I'm going to click the run mode change button. Okay, that was slightly less painful than usual. I can highlight this, and I need to press the space bar. That gets me to go look for a 0. And then we have a test change button. All right, well, this is actually moving slightly faster than it used to. And I only have a 4-rung program, so I can't really give it a lot of compliments, but that was actually better. I don't know what they changed or if it, somebody just said it. I have not read any release notes that says there was any improvement, but that was better. Okay, well, we have a reset button. Sounds like we need to test it since we're at 27,000. So I press my red button. Let's go ahead and get that, let's go ahead and get these values back up though. There we go. So I press my reset button, which is the red button, and my accumulated value does go to 0. That's exciting. Now I press my CD, and it subtracts just by 1 this time. I press it again, it does it again. All right, and I'm gonna bring it up to 4. And mainly I'll look at the done bit now. And when I press it again, the done goes to a 1. I press it again, I can go to 5 and it's still a 1. I press my yellow button, it goes back to 5. Press it again, it goes to 0. So this does function like a Studio 5000 counter, except I did not build in the OV or the UN. And as an extra challenge, you guys can go ahead and do that. This may be, this may be a good example. If somebody really wants to, you could probably submit this to the Rockwell sample code. I bet some people would like it. All right, but next we have, next issue we have is typically you have a nice tidy counter instruction, or even in CCW would have a CTUD, and now I got 4 rungs. So what I want to do is I want to package what we just did up into a user-defined function block. So I'm going to right-click user-defined function block, add ladder diagram, and we're going to call this our Studio counter. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It cannot have the same name as the data type. Let's call this our Studio. I'm just going to call it a CTUD. There we go. That'll be our instruction name for it. And first we have some local variables, and we have to pass some data back and forth. Now, one catch I already know, so I'll explain why I'm doing what I'm doing in just a second. I'm going to make this my enable in, well, enable underscore in, and I'm going to make another one my enable underscore out. And I'm going to designate this as an input. I'm going to designate this as an output. And this is completely for, we'll call it cosmetics. These two won't do anything. After that, we need to figure out what all do we need to bring in to do this. So we see we need an ACC, we need a PRE, we have a CU. We got a couple things to bring in. So let's just start typing those out. So we're going to do PRE, and that's something we're bringing into our custom data type. So it's going to be a variable input. Oh, why is it not letting me add another rung now? All right, what did I do? Right click, add variable. Okay, there we go. Oh, well, I don't know what was happening there. Let's try it again. PRE. Let me just type them out first. Why is it not liking that? It's not telling me anything. All right, well, let's just close that and open it right back up and see if I just messed something up. Oh, there it is. I don't know what was going on there. That was weird. ACC. And then we are going to need a CU bit. Actually, you know something? We're going to need two of them because we need an input and an output out of this. So CU enable. We'll need a CD enable. And we're going to need our basic CU bit. We're going to need a CD bit. We're going to need a DN bit. And just so they're there, I'm going to put the OV bit. Oops, that's a V. And the UN. We're going to put those in. And mainly our preset needs to be a dent. And our ACC needs to be a dent. And okay, our preset, this where I don't know what went wrong there. Should have been just select variable input. Well, that worked perfectly that time. I don't know what was wrong last time, but okay. This will be a variable output because we're going to get the ACC out of it. CU enable will be a variable input. And oh, you know something? I better just move the order and I didn't notice it. And the CD enable will be an output. Oops, you're an output. There we go. Okay, variable output, variable output. All right, this, oops, no, that's an input. All right, starting to fade on you. Okay, CU is going to be an output. This is going to be an output. All right, the done is going to be an output. These are things we're getting out of it. The OV will be an output, and the UN will be output. So really, we're bringing in a preset. We're letting it know, is it enabled up? Is it enabled down? And then everything else we're getting out of it, and almost forgot. It'd be nice if we had a reset built into this. So we're going to put a reset in here, and that will also be an input. All right, I think that does this. So now let's open up our logic. Now notice I'm on the Studio CTUD. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take what we figured out here. I am going to select all and cut that. Oops, can't do that apparently. Right click. Huh, why is it not letting me? All right, let's do the shift way. Right click. I don't know, cut. That was weird. All right, guys, well, we're having some weird stuff happening now, but that's all right. And we're going to paste it in. And oops, I got an extra line there. All right, now we got to work through what all should be what in here because this is a little different. We're actually going to be using these local variables that we just created. That's what we're going to use in this. So our green button is now going to be the CU enable because it's count up enable. Our yellow button will be the CD enable. CD. Well, why is it not there? Well, that's weird. Well, let me just try copying you. CU enable. Control C. V. Well, we're just having some weirdness happening now. There, it works. I hope I don't have to find them. All right, now this is just the CU bit. CU. And this will be the CU. And then this will be the CD. This will be the CD. Uh-oh. I didn't mean to do that, whatever I just did. CD. CD. All right, this is the ACC. And we're going to use that a bunch, so might as well just copy, paste, paste, paste. Oops, Apparently I did something wrong there. C, U, enter. And yeah, we need it there. And we need it there. Okay, and then we need our preset, P, R, E. And we need our reset. Okay, oops, nope. And we need our DN. So all we've done is made all this kind of built in. No, my computer's suddenly choking, but we'll make it through here. We're almost done here. All right. So what we've done is we packaged this into the Studio CTUD instruction. And so now I'm going to close this out. Oops. Yes, we definitely want to save changes to that. And then we're going to go over to our program, which is now blank, and drag down an instruction block and start typing Studio. And you're going to see the Studio CTUD user-defined instruction that we just created. And all right, here's another good example. Here's one thing I wish they would improve in Connected Components is this auto size. See, we got some clutter or whatever you call it, not clutter, but see how they're overlapping here? It's the same deal. So let's right click the white area to the right of our rung, go to properties, and along with the cell width, which we just changed, we have a cell height. And so I'm going to make that 30. And that makes, of course, it does it everywhere. That's the downside. But at least get that where that's not all crowded up there. Okay. And I did something wrong. Why is the CD enable on that side? All right. You know, I knew I was struggling with something there. CD, variable input. All right. Whoopsies. This is supposed to be an input. There we go. And I think you had to close it and reopen it to actually have that happen. Yes. Open it back up. Uh-oh. Oh, wait. We got to close. We did close. Let's just delete it. Try again. Bring you in. Type Studio. There we go. That looks better. So we have a preset, account up enable, account down enable. Now, arguably, these should be in a different order, but honestly, the only way I know to fix an order is to right-click and cut, then right-click and paste. That brings it back down to the bottom. And then, yeah, I think same thing. You have to delete it. So it is kind of cumbersome. You probably need to do a little planning, or somebody needs to teach me a little more about how to do user-defined function blocks. But there we go. That's kind of what you would see in a count up down counter. And same thing on this. Actually, they're in the right order over here. So our count up enable is our green button. Our count down enable is our yellow button. Our preset, oops, where's my reset? All right, oops. All right, well, we may have to figure out how to do this refresh or something. Simulate 0. Can I F5 it? Nope. All right, I forgot the reset. Is that what's happening here? RES? Okay, if you just select a var, it's just an internal variable. It's not actually coming in or out of this thing. It's just a storage block for it. The reset needed to be an input. Now, here's where I guess I need to learn how to actually change this. Let me try right-click, cut, right-click, paste. Oh, there we go. Okay, so right-click, cut, right-click, paste. They're on right back in until somebody teaches me how to reset. So our preset is going to be our studio counter.pre. Our reset is going to be our red button. Then our accumulated value will be our studio counter.acc. Our CU will be our studio counter.cu. And this will be our studio counter.cd. And this will be our studio counter, studio counter.dn. And while they're not functional, I am going to go ahead and put these in. This is our studio counter.ov. Oops, there it is, OV. and studio counter.un. All right, now I have never actually done this before today, so I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but let's go ahead and try it. Okay, and oops, I just pinned that. I accidentally do that about half the time. Not sure what advantage that gives you, but okay. All right, so I should be able to press, oh, yeah, green button. I'm not sure why my descriptions aren't showing up, but I press my green button and my cumulative value goes up. That's exciting. I press it again. Cumulative value goes up again, and I'm seeing the CU bit. Oops, my counter done's not correct. Oh, yes, it is, because I did not put a preset in. And so if I put a preset back of 5, we should see the done checkbox go out right there. Excellent, it does. And so I press it, there gives me 3, 4, and when I get 5, that gives me my done, and I can press my yellow button. That takes me back down to 4, 3, 2, 1, and mainly -1. So that gets me counting negative, and that gets me counting positive past my done. Now, there is one challenge that if somebody really wanted to tackle this and package it up, because really that would be the next thing, is somebody needs to package this up and share it. That way people can just download a studio count up down instruction. Is if I put my cumulative value at 2,147,483,646, which is 1 off the maximum number. Oops, why did I not take that? 2,147,483,646. Enter. There it goes. All right. Why is it not letting me take that? Okay, well. Oh, all right. This would need a little work, but apparently the manual entry, why does the manual entry not work? Now I'm just curious. So that gets me in here. So I'll put it in here. 2,147,483,646. Oh, it won't even let me enter anything there. Huh. Oh, no, there it goes. Oh, because, and honestly, I didn't even think about that. If I planned this well, you didn't need to break any of that stuff out. Oh, all right. We may do one more generation of this before the end of this live stream. 2,147,483,646, enter. And it does take it there. I didn't even think about that. I forgot I created that data structure, and oh yeah, I didn't even need to create this other thing. Oh, well, we're going to clean this up in a second, but let me show you the one issue that this OV should be solving, and it needs fixed, is that gives me 7. Now watch what happens. I press it one more time. That takes me to a negative 2,147,483,000, and actually that says 648. And the OV should come on then. But I just realized, yeah, let's clean this up a little bit. I didn't need to do quite a bit of that. In fact, I guess I didn't realize I did not need to create that structure at all. If I go to local variables, I can get to those others. So we need to CU enable. We need to CD enable. We actually arguably don't even need a preset. Let's try this. Now I may be getting ready to completely break this thing. We want a place for them to put the reset. And let's see. We really, if we're going to make it. Oh, actually, you know what it is? Actually, let's undo. What did I just do? Oh, yeah. Let's put that back. I I see what I should have done a little bit different. The preset is an input. And we go back here. What it is these don't need values. It didn't need this. Just take these out. In fact, we need to delete Studio 5000 counter. Let's see. We need the yellow button. Oh, we need the reset. Yeah, that's all we needed. And let's call, all right, let's go delete. In fact, let's go delete some of this stuff. Actually, no, let's not get too far. We just want to delete this structure. We probably didn't need that. And now we go back here. Double click on you. We're going to call you or, well, we'll just call you. That's not a bad name for what you are. All right. Why do you not like that? I think you do like that. You just screaming at me for no good reason. Let's see. Oops. All right. It did do something wrong. Oh. I put it in the wrong place. Yeah. This is the reset. All right. So we'll just take you out. All right, and let's download this just so we can see this. This actually is probably similar to what Studio 5000 would have. And we'll catch up over here. Let's see. Top notch. Whoops, over here. Do you do one-on-one? I'm a maintenance technician in Fort Worth, Texas, and have very limited PLC and electrical knowledge. I would love to gain your insight. We do in-person classes in Roanoke, Virginia, and it's not one-on-one. It is 10 people at a time. I'm sorry, 8 people at a time. I'm typing the word 10 while I'm talking. And that's where I would start at is, one, put an inquiry in just so you can see, but let me go ahead and just paste this into there. So check out this link right here and read everything on it before you actually send an inquiry in. Don't just send an inquiry in because I'll ignore it if you haven't actually read. And I've learned to read into whether someone's read it or not. But yeah, look at that, and we can talk about options. There's a lot of, we have online courses that you can go through, and yeah, we have in-person training. Let's see, Logan, that was what I was trying to say. Oh yeah, now I'm out of sync of where we were even talking about that. With the FB, you didn't need the structure. No, you're right. Yeah, in function block we wouldn't, but yeah. Okay, let's see how this works, because I think this probably is what a lot of you are looking for when you're trying to convert a Studio 5000 or RS Logix 500 program. Is now I should be able to double click here. Oops, I didn't want to peek into it though. I just want to, I don't have variable monitor. Variable. Well, I know it's there. So let's go here. Studio 5000 CTUD. And all right, right now we have a done bit because we don't have a preset. Okay, you see, I would need to rearrange these. Oh, that's right. You needed the preset value to be out. Okay, I'm going to fudge that. We would need to fix this, but I'm just going to go into here. I'm going to edit it. Oh, no, it won't let me do it here either. Okay, we will go ahead and, let's go ahead and make a run mode change. And we did need that preset. So, well, I don't know why. Why is that? We should have been able to get by that. Just so we can see how it worked, because yeah, somebody else can take this and run with it. We're just going to put the counter priori right here. Because yeah, I think somebody could take this and probably package it up nicely. All right, so yeah, and my computer is starting to choke. So yeah, because even the online edit is slower now. But okay, I don't know. Maybe somebody told me it was faster now. They may be right. Honestly, I rarely use the run mode change because it is tremendously slower than Studio 5000's run mode change. But all right, we have a preset now, and we should be able to put a 5 into it. I'd have to figure out how to get that poked out, but then we should be able to go to our local variables and open up this counter. And our done bit is now false. I press and hold the green button. All right, you get our CU let off. Press again. All right, that is working. And on 5, we get a done. And we can count past it. We can count it in the negative. All right, I'm really not sure. I don't know. That was a good experiment. I don't know if that actually did a lot. I don't know if that's how I would do it or if I would just, yeah, honestly, I would either use the add out, but I think probably someone, and maybe it's there. Is it already there? Well, let's go and look. It isn't going to take, I mean, we're already at, I don't even know how far we're in. What are we at? We're nearing 2 hours. So yeah, we're all about out of steam, but let's look at that. Let's go to Rockwell sample code. If I get in here and I find this thing's already here, I'll be like, huh. Well, actually, I'll be happy. But here's where somebody needs to submit this if it does not exist. I don't even know what I'm looking for, though. I want a counter. And then I think I can thin it down to which platform. Can I do that? Micro800. Oh, that's for the high-speed counter. High-speed counter. Oh, that's all this word counter. Let's go for CTU. Nope, it's not there. Yeah, but what somebody needs to do, and I would, if you do it, I'll even give you a plug and brag about what you end up with, is somebody needs to finish, oh, there it goes, Micro800. Do diagnostic counter, high-speed counter, high-speed counter. Oops, and yeah, don't want to download it. Somebody needs to submit this to Rockwell sample code. And that would be beneficial, I think. I think there's a lot of people out there that are running into this because really in Studio and Logic, I mean, half the time you leave the presets as 0 because really we're trying to count and use values and nobody realizes it. Or, they have a set point, but they allow it to go beyond their set point. And those are 2 big issues that a lot of you have talked about and trying to figure out how to resolve. But anyway, that is, well, we made it slightly under. We're an hour and 46, and I think I was petering out about now, so I know you're petering out about now. But our next one, which should have been this one, although I didn't get to this sequence, and I know some of the instructors really wanted me to go through the sequence, so maybe, I'm not. I'm going to stick to the sequence video is there. It has 300,000 views, so I know somebody out there likes it. And I will go ahead and grab it though and put it into the chat. And our next one is going to be on analog. So we're going to do the basics of wiring analog. We're going to talk a little bit about 2-wire and 4-wire. Again, we have lots of videos on, 4 to 20 milliamp signals, but we'll give a little bit of clarification on that because I know a lot of this video series really is geared towards a lot of the trade schools out there that are looking for a little more fast track. They're like, hey, we need to understand. I mean, it's not a rush class, but they're wanting to kind of keep the meat and potatoes going. So really, this got the timers and counters. We'll hit the how to do the analog. And then we are actually going to do some PID videos again, and I'm really excited about that. Let's see, sequencing, sequencing. Yeah, now you know how to spell out, I have to sound things out to spell. Sequencing lessons. So watch this right here. I just dropped it in the chat. Watch that sequencing. It takes you right through it. And instructors, what I did in it is you have the Connected Components Workbench. That's what I'm building the studio off of, because this one actually, whereas this series I'm doing just Connected Components Workbench, and that one I had Studio 5000 and Connected Components Workbench, and I really went side by side so that people could understand the difference. This was the one thing that even looking back, I was like, I need to do something about that, and that's kind of when I went ahead and did this. But I'll see you on the analog stream. Talk to you next time.